if you care about your people and you really are engaged with them, they will then know that, man, my CEO really cares about me. My company cares about what I'm doing. He's leading the way he's the author of books. He's doing this, he's doing that, but he's coaching me to be better and providing avenues for me to get better. People are going to perform when they're in that environment. And that's why when you go to a concert, you hear great music because they've been allowed to express themselves and bring their best selves to the table. That's when you go to hear an orchestra, it's like you walk away and you're in tears and it's blowing you away because the musicians are bringing their best selves to work because the conductor has cast enough bigger vision, but also he's moved out of the way and allowed them to display their expertise and excellence. And that's what people want.
It's an interesting one when you look at perhaps not the most popular genre of music is traditional orchestras, but what an incredible organization. Okay. And in it, a business, right? Like
yes.
If that orchestrator can't conduct, or that conductor can't conduct the orchestra, ain't nobody going to hang out to watch for too long. So it really is an interesting business in itself. And I've always been amazed. Yeah, it can bring an emotion of how this individual can draw out and really, as you're saying, bring the best out of people. So yeah, I'm glad we're having this conversation because these things have always been of interest, but I've never taken the time to really get deeper into them. And I love the tie into business. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that everyone can relate to. You don't have to be a musician. And that's kind of how I wrote my books is they have a musical theme, but you don't have to be a musician to understand them. If you've played the radio or gone to a concert and you've seen a band on stage, you will get the principles of the things that I talk about in the books because of just, again, music is something that is so humane to all of us. It's so essential. I mean, what would life be if we didn't have music? If we couldn't come home in the afternoon and get in the car and turn on the radio and listen to a really good song on our way home and kind of decompress, right? Or get up in the morning and get ready to work out and put on our headphones and listen to some music that pumps us up. Music has that way of just kind of transcending our emotions and helping us get to another state. And so when you think about, well, what do these guys bring to the table? And when you think about high-performing teams, what are some of the best high-performing teams? A group of musicians that have learned how to really work well together. Because the thing about it, when you're playing music, you can't have an attitude with the people you're playing with because the music won't sound
right. Yeah. I mean, how many disasters have there been? That's actually something that I've laughed about is when you see a really good band, even one who's just playing at the local pub kind of thing, but they're really good, you look and go, my God, the odds of them sticking together and being able to pull together music like that as individuals within a group of 4 or 5, it just is amazing. Like it's really
and it's something. Brought them together. And again, there's so many different things that's a part of that makes those things up. That's pretty amazing. One of the things we mentioned, or maybe one of the questions you shared with me earlier, was about the neuroscience. And so one of the things that I've gotten certified in is called conversational intelligence, which is the neuroscience of conversations, because it's all about culture, right? Because at the end of the day, when you have a conversation, you're creating a culture, right? You're creating communication between two individuals. But more than that, conversations are more than verbal conversations. Conversations are chemical. And here's what I mean. When we start having a conversation and you said, man, I really enjoy that conversation, well, where does that enjoyment come from? Mm-hmm. The enjoyment experience is your brain releasing oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and a chemical called GABA. These are neurotransmitters, chemicals that are positive things that make you feel like, man, I'm learning a lot. This is a great conversation. I'm feeling really good about this. Wow, I really appreciate that conversation. And you walk away feeling great. Now, have you ever picked up the phone and someone said hello and the back of your neck tensed up and, it was like a little pain and you just knew it wasn't going to be a great conversation and they hadn't really even said anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the chemical reaction that your body gave to their tone, their pitch, what they were sending, and the conversation didn't go well. Whether it's a manager or a customer or a family member or something that kind of created an angst moment for you. And the reason being is that within 0.07 seconds of a conversation, our brains begin to emit a neurochemical of either positive or negative.
Wow.
So we know right away whether we're going to have a good time or a bad time. Now, there's an interesting part about
this neuroscience work and some of the words. Like there's a book, Words That Work, I think that comes to mind, and it really dove into the kind of some of the political usage of language and how spinning the naming of things has a real big impact. But even in certain conversation, like you just alluded to, that the words and how you say them has a very fast impact on the body, physiologically.
Right.
So tell me more about that, and how have you applied that to business?
Well, one of the best ways to apply to business, and I'll share a story where I had a project team where the teams were being switched out. So some people on the team knew each other. Other people did not know each other. Some of the ways that the new team members learned about being on the project, some people dropped the ball and didn't really explain it to them. So they were coming to the team with apprehension. And I could tell from just kind of meeting them pre our kickoff, our first meeting together, that there was some disconnect there. So I did an exercise that I talk about in my book as well called Rules of Engagement. And the idea was to get everybody in a room, and it's like, okay, close your computers. Everybody grab some sticky notes. And I said, I want you to write down 7 words from when you were in a project team previously. What were some words that you thought about that team? And it had to be a team that you really loved, a team that you really had a great experience in. What are some words that come to mind from that experience? And so everybody wrote, kind of wrote things on their sticky notes. And I said, okay, well, now we're just going to go up individually, and I want you to put up your words on the wall. And if you see a word that's similar to your word or the same word, put your sticky on top of that. And what we ended up doing was creating an affinity diagram, because it was teamwork, respect, appreciation. These were things that people wrote down that they really liked from various teams. When we looked at the board, there were only a few outliers. And I asked the team, I said, so what do you guys think? He was like, wow, we actually have a lot more in common about what we want from a team than not in common.